I have a problem with diets. Everyone that goes on a diet eats salad. I can't have salad. I am allergic to leafy greens. I am. They go in one end and out the other. That's how I got the nickname the salad shooter. Yeah. Not to be confused with the salad tosser. That's something different. It certainly is. Goodness. But I can have cruciferous vegetables. You know what those are? Yes, they're the rougher vegetables. The kale, kohlrabi, carrots, cabbage, anything that begins with is okay. So I can have those, but when I have carrots, I feel like I'm a rabbit. Okay? Nothing wrong with rabbits. Rabbits have the perfect life. They eat, they sleep, they hop, they poop a little, and they have lots of sex. Did you know that? Rabbits have lots and lots and lots of sex. Tons of, that's why you see little rabbits all around, little bunnies hopping around, because they have lots of sex. But for what they have in quantity of sex, they lack for in quality of sex. Yes, I looked it up online. Check my internet browser. It has bunny sex in there. And I found out, do you know how long it takes a bunny to have sex? From the little bunny foreplay to the big rabbit? Oh, it takes 10 to 14 seconds. 10 to 14 seconds. I think I might be part rabbit. Guys, 2019 is tomorrow, and in 2019 I will have my 40th high school reunion. Yes. It will also be 40 years that I ran off with the carnival, 40 years ago. I was a carny, believe it or not. I worked a water gun game and an arcade. Okay? You guys remember arcades, right? That's where people got together, mainly teenage boys got together, and they would play video games, they'd socialize, they'd try to beat each other's high scores, and that was a great socialization. Now, everybody's got their home gaming things and their handheld devices, their Nintendo Switch. Now teenage boys pretty much stay at home and play with themselves. I was corrected by a lady one time in the audience. She said, "No, Chris, they don't. They play by themselves, not with themselves." I said, "Lady, these are teenage boys." Yes, guys. And I had the water gun game as well. I'm sure you're familiar with it. It's a trailer game on the Midway. We had these high-powered water pistols. You shot at this clown's face. It had a little target on it, and a balloon would blow up. And when it blew up, the first persons who had their balloon pop, they won, right? Well, you know what? I have not had that job for almost 40 years now, but I still remember the pitch. You know what a pitch is? It's what the carny says to get you to play the game. Do you want to hear me? You want to hear it? Yes, yeah, that's great. I love an audience that's anxious for this. Here we go. Tickle those tonsils now. Give his tongue a tingle. Make him go with the H2O. The first to pop is top. So winner, there's a winner, and everybody's surprised every winner. Who's going to do it to him now? Step right up, put your cash on the dash. We'll have you in a flash. Everybody ready to play the game? Pull the guns up out of the counter. Ain't right for the clown's mouth, because we're going to go on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And they're off and running off and gunning. Keep them going, growing, flowing higher, higher, racing up, reaching up, going for the sky. Hey, we got a winner here. With twice traded in for a giant stuffed beaver. We actually gave away giant stuffed beavers as prizes, guys. And my stalker wanted me to have hers. Oh yeah, I turned that down. She scared me. She scared me a lot. And that's why I don't want to talk about my stalker. But I do want to talk about beavers. I do. The first time I ever saw a picture of a beaver in a magazine that wasn't Field and Stream or Ranger Rick was in a magazine that had to do with a different kind of stream. And that magazine was Hustler magazine. We used to call those dirty magazines. Dirty magazine Hustler. Because it had lots of pictures of naked ladies in it. And most of the pictures featured the downstairs lady parts. Right? That was the kind of shot. It was all that kind of stuff. But guys, I tell you, this first magazine that I happened to come across had a scratch and sniff centerfold. No, I kid you not. I actually had a scratch and sniff centerfold. Being 17, I had to do it. I took the magazine, I picked it up, scratched right between the legs where they had that stuff, and I smelled it. It smelled like blueberries. They lied. They lied. You know how I know they lied? Because we traveled the carnival with a woman with a tattoo of a seashell on her inner thigh. And when you held your ear up to it, you could actually smell the ocean. That's good. I am actually the father of children, believe it or not. They're pretty much grown up now. But when I named my kids, my mother said, you have to name your kids the Catholic way. What's the Catholic way, Mom? You have to pick a name from the Bible or the Litany of Saints. So since I didn't know what a litany was, I went with the Bible. Went Old Testament on my kids. Gave them very strong Old Testament names. Named my boys David and Goliath. I can see you, sir. You don't believe me. And you know what? You're right not to believe me. Because there's no way my wife would allow it. She couldn't look at a perfectly beautiful baby boy named him David. There are more Davids in the audience than I expected. So, if you're going to have kids, and most of you, I assume, had kids, but for those of you who haven't yet, don't have more than 2. Stop at 2. Because once you have 3, you are outnumbered. Right? And it's nothing but trouble. You're asking for trouble when you have a 3rd child. Listen to this. I'll give you an example. April 18th, 1997. Downtown Chicago, me, my wife, and 3 little ones in tow. And all of a sudden, the 3 little ones take off in 3 different directions. Bing, 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 bing. Okay, that was 4. They took off in 3 of those directions, though. So they take off, and the question is, who do you chase after? Who do you run for? Who do you love the most? To this day, we miss little Mary. But don't worry. I only had 2 boys. Remember Paul and Goliath? No, we didn't name him David, we named him Paul. But Paul and Goliath were our 2 boys. Mary was my sister's kid we were watching that day, obviously not doing a spectacular job. But all things worked out. For some reason, my sister hasn't talked to me for 21 years. Might have something to do with her, well, me losing her child. Okay, that happens. Guys, I've also been married 31 years. This is where people clap. Okay. 31 years, same woman. And I found that about 15 years in, you run out of things to talk about. Right? I mean, you told your stories. Everybody knows each other's life story by that time, other than how was work, how are the kids. There's nothing more to talk about. But I wouldn't let that keep me from talking, right? Not at all. So I went to the internet. I've been going to the internet for years to look for articles that we could talk about. And I came across one a couple weeks ago. And it was one that was about a study that they did in England. They were looking to see if there was a correlation between a man's intelligence and the size of his prize. Okay? So what they had to do is they surveyed 3,600 men in England, gave them IQ tests, measured their tallywhackers, because that's what they call them in England. Then they did some cockamamie math. It's cockamamie math. I'll say that again. Cockamamie math. And they found a link, and they call it the sausage link. Yes. The smaller the sausage, the smarter the man. I had to think about that too, guys. How smart do I want to admit that I am? So I had to think who is smart? Who's the smartest man I know? Bill Gates. He is a computer genius. He does well financially. He is the smartest person I could think of. 2 words associated with Bill Gates all the time are micro and soft. It's a good study, guys. And I took it to the next level with my wife. I said, honey, wouldn't it make all the sense in the world that the smaller a man's wiener, the smarter he is? That somebody with no wiener, let's say a wienerless woman, would be smarter than any man. A woman would be smarter than any man. Ma'am, I see you're smiling. And my wife did the same thing. She smiled at that. She thought that was pretty accurate. But then she leans over, gives me a kiss on the cheek, and she whispers a little something in my ear. What she says to me is, honey, you have got to be the smartest man on the planet. Smart enough to know that really wasn't a compliment. Also smart enough to know that's all the time I have with you here tonight. Happy New Year, Paw Paw. I'm so happy to see you tonight.